Hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another Books and Looks video. If you are new to my videos, I put on my makeup for the day while talking about a book that I have recently read. Give a little review, personal opinion, tell you about the plot. I do include spoilers, so if it's a book that you want to read, you might want to pay attention and skip past any sections that are giving away plot points that you don't want to be spoiled, or perhaps pick a different video of a book that you're not interested in. I do have a couple of videos where I don't talk about books. I just do my makeup, traditional get ready with me. Perhaps that's the better style for you if you don't like book spoilers. And then I do my makeup at the same time, just kind of so I have something to do rather than just staring awkwardly at the camera. Again, my name is Jen, and today I am going to be talking about Shirley Jackson's We Have Always Lived in the Castle. I am familiar with very little of Shirley Jackson's books. I've read a couple of her short stories, and they're interesting. They have a lot of meaning and power behind them. So I thought I'm going to give her novel a try, and let me tell you, it was an interesting ride. It was a very interesting ride. So, shall we begin? Okay, so We All Lived in the Castle starts out with Mary Catherine walking home from the grocery store. The setting is kind of unclear, but it's definitely like sometime in the past. Well, first of all, this book was written in, I want to say the 50s. I'll check in a moment. But it definitely takes place in a different time period because I don't know, you just get that vibe, right? You just get the vibe that it's definitely not modern. Sorry. It's definitely not modern, but it also doesn't take place in the 50s. I feel like it's earlier than that. Although I really can't say for sure because, again, it's very unclear. This was published in, I can't find it. There it is. Oh, 1962. 62. So Mary Catherine's walking home from the grocery store. She's got all of her stuff, and she's talking about how everybody in town hates her and her sister, who she lives with in the big house up on the hill. And her sister is Constance. And so she's just talking about how everybody hates her and everybody makes fun of her, and she just wants to make it home with her groceries because it's just her sister Constance, and then her Uncle Julian living in the house because 6 years earlier, the rest of their entire family was poisoned, and Constance was blamed for it, went on trial, and was acquitted. Now, this all comes out pretty early in the book, and that's why the townspeople hate this family, is because they think Constance murdered the family. And so, they're, mean to them and afraid of them. And, they think she's guilty even though she was acquitted. And so Mary Catherine has to go to the grocery store. Constance won't leave the house ever, for understandable reasons, because, she's afraid of, the townspeople who think she killed her whole family. So that's why Mary Catherine has to go to the grocery store, but everybody's mean to her. She's walking home, and there's little kids playing in the front yard, and they're taunting her with, mean little rhymes about how awful she is. Mary Catherine killed her family. Mary Catherine, blah, blah, little mean rhymes. And then she stops in at the coffee shop, which is the only person who's kind of sort of nice to her. And she gets, a little drink, a cup of tea or whatever. And then a police officer comes in and sits right next to her and is like, "What are you doing here?" Being mean to her. So even the police is not kind to her. So she finally makes her way home with her groceries, and you meet Constance, who's a few years older than her, actually a lot of years older than her, because at this point Mary Catherine is 18 because she was 12 when the family died. And Constance, we find out, a little bit later in the story, that Constance is 27. So there's a 10-year difference between them. So she gets home with the groceries, and you meet Constance. She's very kind. She cooks and cleans and takes care of the house. It's her her family's house, and they have their routines. On Monday they clean the house, on Tuesday they do the gardening, on Wednesday, they have their routines. Thursday's grocery day or whatever. And then Uncle Julian, who also lives there, he is in a wheelchair and is also not in his right mind, kind of like dementia-like, and kind of sickly and just not in good health because, as it turns out, he was also poisoned, but he didn't eat as much of it as everybody else, so he survived. So you come to find out that Mary Catherine and Constance, their mother, their father, and their younger brother all died. And then Uncle Julian's wife, their aunt, also died. So 4 people died, and then Uncle Julian was also poisoned. So Constance was accused because she always did the cooking for the family, and they were poisoned by arsenic in their dessert. And they all died like these excruciatingly painful deaths. Mary Catherine was up in her room because she was grounded, and so she had to go to bed without dinner. So she was up in her room. And so they, obviously Constance was the prime suspect because they were all poisoned by dinner or by dessert, and Constance had prepared it. So everybody in town is awful to them. They pretty much just stay holed up in their house. They take care of Uncle Julian. They live their life. They're just like, leave us alone. We just want to live our life in peace and move on from the trauma of our family. But the townsfolk are awful. Like I told you, the kids are taunting them. Even the police officers are like, why are you here? You're a murderer. Your sister's a murderer. So they're living their life. It's fine. There are, like I said, a couple of people who are nice. The coffee shop owner is relatively nice, and then there are a couple of little old ladies whose names I can't remember, but these 2 little old ladies were really good friends with their mom. So here we are 6 years later, and every Saturday, like I said, they have their routines. So on Saturday, the one little old lady comes every Saturday to have tea, because she used to do it with the mom, and then when mom died, she kind of like felt bad and felt like she should take care of them, and so she shows up every Saturday to have tea with them and just chit chat and make sure that they get some socialization, some connection to the outside world, make sure they're okay. It's very lovely. Well, in this Saturday, in the first couple chapters of the book, she shows up as she brings another little old lady along. And this little old lady is not quite so prim and proper. And she just straight up asks, like, oh, is this your mother's tea set? And they're like, yeah, mm-hmm. How did she start asking questions? Like, well, how did it happen? We are asking these, well, no, I'm sorry, Julian pops in. And Julian starts saying, like, oh, this is the mother's tea set. That's right, Julian, because he's not quite in his right mind. Uncle Julian shows up and he starts saying stuff. And then the new little old lady starts like milking it. She's like, oh, it happened in the dining room. Oh, I'd love to see the dining room. So Uncle Julian like takes her on a tour into the dining room and says, like, the father was sitting here and the mother was sitting here. I was sitting here. Constance was sitting here. Little Thomas was sitting here. And like basically telling this old lady everything that went down and how it happened that day. And then you come to find out that he has like diaries and journals and newspaper articles and stuff where he has been reliving it and trying to record it. Because I don't know if he's trying to remember because he has dementia or if he's like trying to solve it. It doesn't really say. But he has like all this stuff. And then he starts showing her all his papers and all his notes. And then he's like, it did happen, right? Like that really did happen. Like everybody died. And they're like, Constance and Mary Catherine are like, yes, Uncle Julian. Yes, it happened. And let's go look at your papers again. And then the original older lady is like, that is enough. This is very rude. We're leaving. And she takes her other kind of more curious, chatty old lady friend and they leave. So that was, clearly that whole chapter was just to show, like, get the background information about the death. And then you come to find out that the poisoning actually happened, like I said, in the dessert. There was arsenic sprinkled on the blueberries instead of sugar. And so everybody who had blueberries with their dessert and tea and whatnot, they all died. But another reason they thought it was Constance is because Constance is a cook, but Constance doesn't like blueberries. So they were like, obviously you were the person because you You chose blueberries because you knew you wouldn't eat the blueberries. You do all the cooking, and you were the only survivor because Mary Catherine wasn't even there. So, but she was acquitted. It was determined that she did not actually do it. So, moving on into the story, they have a surprise visitor, Cousin Charles. So their father and their Uncle Julian had another brother who was very estranged from the family, and they haven't spoken to them in years. So Cousin Charles shows up, and he's like, well, Father forbid me to talk to you guys. I've been, thinking about you guys and worried about you guys ever since the deaths, and now that Father has died, I can now come and visit you and offer some assistance and help. Well, he's a little suspicious the whole time. He's a little mean. He acts like he owns the place. He takes the father's like pocket watch and starts wearing it and starts smoking his pipe and like all this weird stuff. Like, who would do that if you're in your uncle's house who died a few years ago? You just start using his stuff and like wearing his clothes, but whatever. And then he starts to like be demanding. Like he stays there for about, I don't know. The whole timeline of the story is very unclear. Like from when Mary Catherine comes home on Thursday, and then they had tea on Saturday. I have no idea how much time has passed since Charles showed up. Maybe a few days. I'm not really sure. And then how long he stays, a week, 2 weeks, a month, I don't really know. But he's there for a fair amount of time, to the point where Mary Catherine is like, you need to leave, because he's changing everything. Like, they want everything to be exactly just so. Everything has to be in place. And, Mary Catherine has this little, I don't know, for lack of a better word, she's like, I don't know, a habit. She buries things around her yard. Like, they have a large property with a stream that goes through it, and a huge house and like a forest area. And she was like nailing things to trees and burying things in the yard, and she thinks it's protecting them. So she's like really superstitious, right? That's the word. She's very superstitious. And right before Cousin Charles shows up, the one thing that she had like nailed, she had nailed like her father's something, like notebook or something, to the one tree, and she finds it had fallen off the tree. So she's like, oh my gosh, something bad is gonna happen. This is an omen. Something bad's gonna happen. Then like the next day, Charles shows up. So she's like convinced her superstitions are accurate. Well, Charles shows up and he starts taking over and is really mean, and she hates it. And he finds that she had buried a bag of money in the backyard. How he found it, I don't know. That is questionable. Is he just like going around digging, or was he just taking a stroll? And I don't know. They don't say. He just shows up. He's like, look, I found this bag of money buried in the backyard. And they're like, oh yeah, Constance is like, yeah, Mary Catherine likes to bury things. It's fine. No big deal. And he's like, what are you talking about? This is money. Like, you can't just bury money in the backyard. That's messed up. But Constance is like, whatever. We have plenty of money. We don't even need it. Like, she can bury a few silver coins in the backyard. Whatever. It's fine. Get over it. But he won't get over it. He's like all irritable about it. So I don't know what I want to do with my makeup. I'm wearing blue today. Okay, I got an idea. Okay, so he's like really upset over this, and he's upset over the fact that, Mary hates him so much she starts messing with him. She puts like dirt in his bed and starts hiding his stuff, like taking his stuff, trying to get him to think like, oh, the house is haunted or whatever. But he knows it's her because she makes it pretty clear she doesn't like him. Well, so he gets really, really mad, and he's like, you're gonna get it. Like, you're gonna be in so much trouble. You need to stop this right now. And then even Constance starts kind of going to his side, and she's like, all right, Mary Catherine, maybe we should stop doing this. Let's be kind to our cousin. He's here to visit. We should be kind to our visitors. Remember, she's superstitious, so she's like, he unearthed my buried money, and the thing fell. So clearly, he's evil, and he should not be here. He's gonna ruin our family. He's gonna ruin everything that we have going. Blah 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 blah. So she does everything she can to get rid of him, and he just isn't gonna have it. Well, again, a couple of more days go by, and they're having dinner, which, by the way, now he starts dictating what they have for dinner. He's like, I want a pot roast and red potatoes and asparagus, and I want this and that. And of course, Constance loves to cook. Like, that's her thing, so she'll make whatever he asks. But Mary Catherine's like, ugh, who are you to decide? Like, Uncle Julian is the one who decides what we have for dinner, not you, you big poo. So one time during dinner, she refuses to go to dinner, and instead she sneaks upstairs and decides she's gonna like do something to his room again, right? She's like, I'm gonna mess with him again because he's a jerk and I hate him. And she sees the pipe of her father's that he's been smoking, and she like swats it, like, hate that guy. And she doesn't realize, but it falls onto a little pile of papers that he had sitting around, and there were still some ashes, lit ashes or whatever, in the pipe, and she accidentally starts a fire. But she walked away after she did that, so she doesn't realize until literally the whole second floor of the house is on fire. They're like, what is that? I smell smoke, blah, blah, blah. And so they don't even realize that the house is on fire until the majority of the house, the second floor of the house, has been burned away. And cousin Charles is like, he's just like, get out of the house, save yourselves. And he like bolts out and just like leaves them in there. And Uncle Julian, who's in a wheelchair, can't just get out. So since it's on the second floor, oh, and then they also hear people starting to come, like they hear the fire trucks coming. So they put Uncle Julian in his room because he's like, I need to get my papers. I need to get all my papers, and I can't let my papers burn. So they let him go in there and start doing that. While in the meantime, they start trying to, save and do things to, not let too much happen to the house. They're trying to save their house. And so they don't, no. Right before the people arrive, they have as much as they can, and cousin Charles is outside, and he's like, get the safe, whatever you do, just get in there. It's in the parlor, and just get the safe. It has all kinds of money, and it's a fortune in there. Get the safe. So that's when you find out that he's really there for the money. So they sneak out because they have to get out of the house, right? They have to get out of the house because it's literally on fire. But they also don't want to go outside because they're a little bit agoraphobic, and the people are out there. Like, the whole town showed up to watch the fire, the firefighters and whatnot. So the firefighters come in, and they, after a while, do manage to put out the fire, but not before, like, the entire second floor of the house is decimated, okay? So, like, they lost their house. It's very sad. And so they're hiding outside, and then finally the fire's out, but then the townsfolk are like, where are they? Are they safe? Are they okay? And they're like, they're not here. We don't know where they are. And so the townspeople are like, oh, they must have run away. And what they decide to do, because they hate them because they're a murdering family or whatever, they go in and start destroying their house. Like, they're breaking furniture. They're throwing chairs out the window. They're like taking pieces of broken chairs and smashing up all their stuff, throwing plates and cups out of the cabinets. They are destroying the place, okay? And then in the meantime, they find Uncle Julian. He died. They determined that he had a heart attack, probably in like panic, and he had a heart attack. He was not in good health. So it wasn't the fire per se, but it was the, like, he's panicking over his papers and, getting everything and the situation. So he ends up dying, and they bring him out, and he's out there, but they still don't know where the girls are. But here the girls are hiding very nearby. They can see everything that's happening. They can see and hear that the townspeople have entered their fire-burned house and are literally destroying everything. They take like knives and start like cutting up their paintings, and they were very pleased that they had a beautiful painting of their mother in the sitting room, in the tea room, and they didn't touch that. So they were very, very happy when they finally went back in that was safe. So they end up sleeping outside because they're too scared to go back in, even after everybody leaves. So the next morning, they go back in the house, and they see, like, everything is destroyed. And so they start trying to clean up and salvage what they can. There's a couple of chairs that are okay, just upended. They start cleaning up all the broken dishes, and they find, a couple of dishes, a couple of cups, enough. There's only 2 of them. So, like, okay, we can make do. They were pleased to find out that the people did not find their basement where they store all their food. So they have a lot of food. Like, they do canning. They have lots and lots of vegetables. They have a beautiful vegetable garden. They have a few, no, how did they get meat? I think that's what they went to the grocery store for. But so they're kind of sort of able to survive for a while. They start cleaning up the house. Uncle Julian's room was on the first floor, so they like take the mattress from his room and clean it. It's all sooty and wet, and they kind of try to repair what they can. They don't have any clothes because all their stuff was up on the second floor in their bedroom, so they make do with what they have. They literally find like old curtains that didn't get damaged, clean them and turn them into fresh clothes, and then they just kind of figure out how to live. And this again is where it gets confusing. Like, how much time has gone past? I don't know. People start showing up and leaving notes saying, we're so sorry. That was so wrong of us. We don't know why we did that. Please accept our apologies. That was horrible. If you need anything, let us know. So like the town people are remorseful. Like, cool, thanks. You just destroyed my house and laughed about it after making fun of my family for 6 years when everybody died. But yeah, cool, thanks. I'll accept your apology. But it ends up kind of being okay because they start delivering food and other things to them. Like, they get a knock at the door, and then, of course, they don't answer the door because now they're very agoraphobic. They don't want anything to do with the outside world anymore. So Mary Catherine and Constance are now living in this house. People are randomly delivering food to them. They have their garden. They're just living basically in Uncle Julian's room and the kitchen. And they do have their basement, like their food storage area. But it's not, like, that's it. They used to have this big, huge mansion with, like, multiple rooms. And townsfolk are awful and ruined it. And so they live there. And again, you don't know how much time has passed because I don't know if Shirley Jackson did that on purpose, but there are clues that a lot of time passes because, the narrator talks about how, actually I think it's Mary Catherine. Is Mary Catherine the narrator? Yes, Mary Catherine is the narrator. So she starts talking about how the vines have started to grow up over the broken windows and start covering up the holes in the second floor, which if the whole second floor is basically gone, I'm assuming there's a lot of openings. And the author never really distinguishes, like, I'm sorry if I was just covering up the camera with that, never really distinguishes, like, it seems like years have gone by. So what about when it rains? Like, they literally have no roof or second floor. So what about when it rains? I don't know. It's never really clarified. And we don't know how much time has gone by, but a lot of time must have gone by because the vines have grown up and covered up the broken windows and the holes in the ceiling and whatnot. And they're like, we can't see the stars anymore because of the vines, and like nothing tastes sooty anymore from our garden. Like, it's implied that like a lot of time has gone by. And then, like I said, the neighborhood people start showing up and giving them food. And then, like, slowly but surely, children start playing in their yard, and they can hear them out in the yard talking about the witches that live in the house. And I heard if you get too close to the house, they'll snatch you up and eat you and you'll never see you again. And the sisters in the house just kind of chuckle because they know it's not true. Like, they don't want to see other people. Like, they have been tormented by the townspeople for years. So they just kind of like, whatever, I hope they go away soon. I hate those people. And so the boys are, the kids or whatever, oh, I dare you to touch the front door. And, one of the kids comes up and touches the front door, and then they all run away screaming. And the girls, anytime somebody shows up, like if the kids are there, Cousin Charles shows up another time and was like, please come out, I just want to talk to you. But then they peek out the window and see that he has a photographer there. And when they go to leave, because they refuse to come out, when he goes to leave, he's like, well, I got you pictures of the house. Will I get paid for that? Even if you didn't get pictures of them? And he's like, I'll give you something. But really what we want is pictures of the girls. So, like, he's trying to exploit them and make money off of them. And, like, he would get paid if somebody could take a picture of, the photographer wanted to take pictures of the girls. And he was like, oh, yeah, I could probably get them out if you pay me. He's just total jerk. So, anyway, this is the end of the story. And then you come to find out, like, lots of time has gone by because now, like, the kids are showing up later. And they're like, oh, when I was a kid, we used to come here all the time. And, the witches, blah, 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 blah. So now it's like an urban legend or whatever. They've become an urban legend. The two sister witches that live up in that creepy house that's all burned down and covered in vines, and we never see them. But anytime we leave something outside the front door, it disappears the next day, and all this weird stuff. So that's kind of like their existence now. Like these two sisters live there. And then, there's the big twist at the end. So the big twist at the end, she says something about, Mary Catherine says something about how she wishes she could just kill all the people who came and this was a little bit earlier. Like, she's like, I wish I could just kill all the people who came and hurt our house and destroyed mother's things and father's things, and I wish I could just kill them. And Constance says, like you did to the others. And then Mary Catherine, as the narrator, says something to the effect of like, that was the only time she ever commented on what happened. So that's when you find out, very subtly, that Mary Catherine killed her family. She was pretty crazy the whole time. So you can kind of see it. Like she was superstitious and hid stuff around. She was like messing with cousin Charles to scare him away. And there were a lot of weird things that she did, like very superstitious and whatnot. But it was also, I don't know, it was weird. She was weird. And so the whole time I was kind of suspicious. Like, I think she killed them. And there was one time where she had like this little fantasy about how at dinner, everybody in the whole family was talking about, oh, Mary Catherine, she's our favorite. We love her. She's clearly the favorite child. And even Constance and little Thomas were like, yes, we love you so much. They love you better than us, and they should. And she's like, yeah, and they'll never send me away to my room without dinner because I'm just so good. I don't do anything wrong. They would never punish me by sending me to my room, which is exactly what happened the night they were all killed. So then that's how you kind of learn, like you piece it together that Mary Catherine did that. And then there was another conversation she had with Constance where she said something like, oh, well, I don't like sugar. And Mary Catherine's like, yeah, I know you don't like sugar. And then Constance looks at her and said, that's why you used sugar, isn't it? And Mary Catherine just kind of smiled. So like, that's when you find out Mary Catherine literally killed her entire family with arsenic in the sugar sprinkled over the blueberries because she knew her sister Constance wouldn't eat it. So she didn't want Constance to die. So now here they are. Who knows how old? We don't know how many years has gone by. A lot. And they're these just two old ladies, spinster sisters that never leave their house, and creepy, right? Yeah. I liked it. And that's how the story ends. It literally ends with them just like living in this house and doing what they do. Oh, geez. Doing what they do, like ignoring the world around them and hoping people leave them the heck alone. And that's the end of the story. That's literally how it ends. I feel like something's missing. Did I forget something? I don't know. Anyway, that's how the story ends. Yeah, I give it, let's see, out of 5. I don't know. It's hard because like there was no plot. Like there was no like where you can say, well, this was the conflict. It was this versus sort of like them versus the town people. I liked it, but it was the whole time I was reading it, I was like, what is going on? Like what's the story here? Of course, as I recap it and recount it and summarize it, I can see a story. But as I was reading it, I was like, there's really no story. They're just like, this happened, then this happened, then this happened. But I liked it. And I thought about it for a long time after I finished it. Like it was in my head for a while. I was thinking about Mary Catherine, like, what are they doing? How old are they? How are they surviving? The fictional characters. And I was thinking about them. So clearly it was a well-written book because it got in my head. And when I wasn't reading, like in between chapters or when I would put it down for a little while, I was still thinking about it. So clearly it was a good book. But it's hard for me to identify, like, what is it about? So I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 because, again, I really enjoyed it. It really got stuck in my head, but I don't really know what it was about. So that's my 2 cents. I hope you liked my summary of the story. I would suggest you give it a read. It is a bit of a tough read because it's weird. I don't know, it's not a tough read. It's a slow read. Like, you can't skim over this and just get the gist. You really need to pay attention, and there's a lot of clues in the details that you don't want to miss. So this, even though it's a smaller book, it probably took me a good 3 weeks to read. And I read often, so I highly recommend it. You should give it a try. Shirley Jackson. It's a classic, American classic. So if you read it, if you have read it before, add comments below. Tell me what you think. Did you like it? Did you get it? Is there something you saw that I didn't see? Let me know what you think. And then with my look. Do you like my makeup today? I did blue once before. I'm doing blue again. I kind of wish, I don't know, maybe I'll... Nope, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not going to add anything. This is my look today. I hope you like it. If you want to try some blues, did a little bit of blue, a little bit of navy, a little bit of browns, and then I have blue eyeliner. I don't know how well the blue eyeliner... Oh, that looks a little uneven right there. That's fine. Who cares? I don't know how well it comes across. And then I have... better. I like this lipstick. It's from Avon. It is so old, there's like hardly any letters on it, but it's called like a crayon. See, I really like it. It goes on easily. I like the color, like a nice maroony color. I like it. I feel pretty. I'm not super excited about the blue, but it's fine. It's totally fine. So that's the end. Tell me what you think of my look. Tell me what you think of my book. And as I always ask, please give me book suggestions, look suggestions, makeup look suggestions. I like to try new things. So give me some ideas in the comments below. Tell me what you think. And have a fantastic everything, day, weekend, month, year, life. And as always, stay beautiful inside and out. Bye.